Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the School District of Mystery Lake for the 2026-2027 Public Budget Presentation. My name is Kelly Knott. I'm the Secretary Treasurer here in charge of the finances for the district. We have our Board of Trustees with us as well as some public. So let's get this started. I wish to start with the Treaty 5 acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we're signatories of Treaty 5 and that we reside in the traditional territory of the Nishnawayasik Cree Nation. The School District of Mystery Lake is located in the community of Thompson in the province of Manitoba. Manitoba is located on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Nihithu, Innu, Denisovan, Métis, Inuit, and Asininu, Anishinaabe, and Dakota Oye nations. The School District of Mystery Lake remains committed to honoring treaties in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. We are all treaty people. Sorry about that. Tonight, I encourage your participation. Questions are more than welcome during the slideshow so that we can speak to what's relevant on the screen, as well as at the end of tonight's presentation if you have any further questions. The presentation will be available tomorrow on our website, as well as there'll be a link on our Facebook page. Tonight, we're going to be looking at the provincial funding announcement, our district enrollments, tax effects on our community, as well as planned expenditures and surplus. The mission, I would like to mention that the Westwood Elementary rebuild will not be included in this presentation. Tonight's budget is based on our operating expenses for the next school year. Westwood Rebuild is a capital project that is being funded through our insurance coverage and is an extraordinary event. Rest assured, the design for Westwood is in progress. The schedule for our tender issue is expected to be April or May of 2006. We expect construction to start in the last quarter. We are just at the final of the preliminary design stage and going to the Class B estimates prior to tender now. So we are still in good shape and on schedule as anticipated. In the development of our budget, we focus on our mission, which is the School District of Mystery Lake will ignite each learner's potential in a safe and inclusive environment that nurtures, celebrates, and inspires lifelong learning through a diversity of educational experiences. Our vision remains that every student matters, every moment counts. For the learners of today will be the leaders of tomorrow. So looking at our revenue, it was a very good news story for Mystery Lake. The provincial funding for the upcoming year was announced with a 2.5% increase. The school district has 85% of our revenue coming from provincial funding. So all increases help that when it comes to our general operating, the provincial funding increase will help manage inflation and reduce the local tax requirements, and that would be the stress on our community holders or what have you to make up the shortfall. Comparing the next year's funding with our current year, there was, as I prepared the files, the funding that was announced was pretty much as planned. Our base support was down slightly, but that's based on the occupancy calculation. So it went from 9 million down to 8.5 million. Occupancy is based on square footage with the loss of Westwood School of 55,000 square feet. That has affected the occupancy calculation. And we'll notice that the school building support is down. That as well is driven by square footage. However, when we start to look at equalization increased from 23.2 million to 24.6 million. The large increase was due to our expenditures that we had last year to get Westwood School back up and running. Equalization, the calculation is based on unsupported expenses, so without using provincial dollars. Those dollars that we spent last year to get Westwood back up and running, roughly about $3 million, came from insurance. So the province recognized that it wasn't supported, so that bumped our equalization. This is a one and done pretty much. We won't see this bump next year, but it's a good news that came out of a horrible event for the time being. We did see a small decrease in the wage and enrollment support from the province, going from $1 million down to $998,000. That was planned. The province had announced there would be slight decrease in that. And the nutrition funding is going to remain at $1.1 million again for next year. When we look at provincial funding, we have to look at our enrollments because we are funded per pupil. Last year, the funding calculation was changed to reflect the highest count over the last 3 years. So last September, we actually had a lower student count, which in previous funding years would have meant an immediate decrease in funding. However, under the new calculation, it's the highest of the last 3. So 23-24 is the numbers that we are still being funded at. Should our enrollments remain the same, we'll end up going down next year to 2760. That would result in about $180,000 decline because we're funded $13,800 per student. If we were under the old model, we would have had a reduction of $960,000 for next year just based on enrollment. So the change to the formula has really helped plan, and you can see where your future dollars are going to be coming, especially when we are 85% reliant on provincial. So diving a little further into our enrollment, we can see that overall, in September of 2023, we had 2,912 students of actual bums in seats. And in September of this past year, there was 2,903. Now, eligible enrollment takes into account kindergarten students, which are funded half-time, and non-supportable students, which are students that are coming in, attending from First Nations or what have you. So while our student count remained fairly consistent, we had a lot of non-supportables, so that has been reduced. I would expect next year our non-supportable students are not going to be as high with the change in legislation in December, with the province recognizing that students coming into the city of Thompson and residing with a responsible adult instead of a legal guardian, they will now fall under provincial funding guidelines. So I would expect the number of non-supportables to be decreased because the legal guardian was the sticking point, and the communities would have to, we call them issued sponsored students. And so we invoice for them separately and they wouldn't be covered by the province. I expect next year that will change. So when we're looking at our local taxes, the difference between the funding from the province and the district budget is raised through what we refer to as the special levy. A mill rate is the amount of tax raised per dollar of assessed value of property. The school district mill rates are calculated using 45% of the property value. That's the calculation across the province. It's always referred to as a portioned school assessment because it only takes into account 45%. 1 mill raises $1 on every $1,000 of assessed value. Looking at how we're managing inflation versus our school tax request to the city of Thompson, I believe this is very clear of how the district is managing inflation and keeping dollars low for our ratepayers. In 2022, inflation was 7.9%. At that time, the province had issued that school divisions could not raise taxes whatsoever. There was a 0%. The following year, the same held true with the announcement, and inflation was at 3.5%, and the school district raised 0.25 to the city of Thompson. The following year, we were allowed to increase taxes. While inflation was 1.1%, we had requested 3%. And the year after that, last year, we had increased 5%, and inflation was 2.7. So we tried to make up a bit of the prior years where we had fallen behind, and we had also encountered, this was the last year, the collective bargaining for the provincial teachers agreement also came into play. This coming year, for January 2026 right now, inflation came out at 2.6%, and we are projecting a 1% increase in our school taxes. So our plan includes $9.7 million of special levy request to the city of Thompson, which is 1% over last year's $9.6 million. So there was a $98,000 increase from last year's taxes. I've taken a ratepayer's tax bill for comparison purposes and to translate what all of the assessments portioned levies translates into. So the school district has had a historical sampling of properties in excess of 20 years that we've used. On the municipality website, the assessed average value of those residences this year is at $242,100. So in the 2025 tax year, on a property valued at $242,000, the total school taxes would have been $2,246. Last year, for your principal residence, you would have seen a homeowner's allowance tax credit in the amount of $1,500. That brought your net school taxes to $746. So what happens? The province of Manitoba issues that HATC directly to school divisions now instead of it coming from the city of Thompson. So that's why it's bumped up our provincial support a little bit higher to the 85%, because we are receiving $3 million in HATC from them. But when we look at our 1% increase this coming year on the same property, the school taxes would be $2,261, so going up $14.82. But the province has also increased the credit for the homeowner's allowance tax credit to $1,600. So that actually brings us an overall decrease in school tax request on the portion to $661.08, or $85 lower for the coming year for school taxes. Now that doesn't mean that your tax bill may not go up. This is on the average. If your property value has gone up dramatically or there's been massive improvements or what have you, it could be different. But this is our request to the city of Thompson that they'll pass on to the ratepayers. Looking at our revenue, as you can see, the big blue pie, and it was likened to Pac-Man. That's our provincial revenue. Provincial funding is at $46,879,000 next year, or 84.81% of our funding. The other revenue line, $1,372,000. Included in that is where we'll see our non-supportable students and where we're invoicing to other sponsoring First Nations and the Frontier School Division for the students at Paint Lake that come in, and other school divisions that bring that. And then our property taxation overall to the city of Thompson of $7 million. That's slightly different from this previous slide because there is a little bit of grant in lieu for Cleasons and what have you in that line item. Overall, our revenue is projected at $55 million. $272,693 next year. I just of note, the average, the provincial average when it comes to funding is about 55%. And the municipal support is usually about 38%. So when you see larger areas talking about they're doing major tax increases, that's a larger component of their revenue stream, so they're able to raise a lot more money through taxation. With our small component, like even if I raise 10%, that's equivalent to like 3.5 teachers' wages at best. So it just, the provincial funding formula is where we drive our income. Now, Kelsey School Division is the highest in the province. At least they were last year. I'm not sure where they landed, but I suspect that hasn't changed very much.
And can you just, what's the reason behind that?
So what it is, it's driven by that equalization line where we're getting 18 and 20 million of equalization. In the city of Thompson, we have all of our property values in a pool. It's our assessed property value. That compared to the city of Winnipeg is much smaller, okay? So what the equalization is meant to do is ensure that the city of Winnipeg and the city of Thompson become equal in assessments. So what happens is the assessed value per pupil is equal. So in order for us to have the same assessed value per pupil as Winnipeg, the province has to support more in funding. Equalization in other divisions, some might get like $500,000 or what have you. Equalization is massive for the school district. Of the $55 million revenue, 20.5 million, I believe, is equalization. So we always play nice. So where do we want to see where our dollars are going? We're not seeing a lot of changes in the upcoming budget for 26-27. Nutrition programming is continuing. We have Nello's law that is now entrenched in recognition of our late minister. Nutrition programming of 1.1 million is continuing. All of the food coming into the schools, we have day cleaners at all of our locations now. There's lots of cleanup, lots of garbage, lots of recycling, and we have, if we keep it clean and presentable, it stays that way, and it extends the life of our facilities. So we have kept all of our day cleaners. Student engagement and presence programming is continuing. The province gives us $547,000 in addition to address programming of this nature. So what we've applied that to is student engagement for academics and numeracy. We've got a lot of supports in the schools related to numeracy. Our curriculum services department has many hands on deck doing a variety of engaging items. Kids are playing board games and they don't realize they're learning math or what have you. It's really amazing what all of the different strategies they're finding. We're also looking at the behavioral component where we're trying, with the behavior that we're seeing, we're trying to help develop self-regulation skills and putting more in supports to assist in that type of nature. If we can get the kids have a successful half day or a 3/4 day in school, that's going to help in their overall success in their school career. The off-campus and alternative programming is continuing for our youth at risk in the junior high and at the high school level. Those programs remain in place for the Southwood campus as well as 12 Fox Bay, where that's continuing. And I guess our biggest story is our transit strategy that we've built into this coming budget. Mystery Lake has got a full fleet of buses coming. We have a transit lead bus drivers, our shuttle driver, as well as monitors. It's supporting the Safe School Attendance initiatives, and we are also going to be taking over the Westwood student transportation next year. Now that we have been able to secure a transportation lead, rather than using the contract method with first students, we're going to be able to manage that in-house. Going through the contractor method, the money we are spending will be gone at the end of 2 years. So what we've done is we've redone our business case. We're bringing in 2 buses of our own next year to run. And then at the end, once Westwood Student is relocated back in 2028, we'll be selling those buses, and we will have that money to put towards perhaps playground equipment at Westwood School or whatever additional expenditures might need. So we're looking, the transit strategy itself is just over $640,000. We just got some new numbers today, and right now we started in mid-October, and we're transporting 400 students a day. So it grew overnight.
Kelly, can I just take it back to the nutrition programming? Sure. So the day cleaners, does that come out of the nutrition budget?
No, it doesn't at all. It's in the, we had it included in our facilities budget, and it's still there. We had to revisit our facilities maintenance budget to assist in the accommodation of our transportation department. So we've done a bit of a trade-off there, but the day cleaners, they were a strategy that had started to, do they work? Are they going to be well received? And it's been overwhelming. It's like, yes, we love them. And now it's even more important with the nutrition programming that they stay. The cleaners' wages are not coming out of there. The only wages that are coming out of there are nutrition procurer positions. What we have put into there, we have seen how much, we had seen a $62,000 increase in our recycling. So what we've done is, not $62,000 increase, our recycling has gone up to $62,000, sorry. So we have portioned $6,000 of recycling fees into the nutrition program to offset. And I mean, when you're buying groceries, you're getting environmental levies or what have you issued to it. So we are going to recognize a portion of the recycling that's coming because we have seen the volumes increase, but it's $6,000 that's being charged to there. The government has very clear guidelines on the equipment component, the staffing component versus the supplies component. It is a struggle to get all of the food out there because of our resource constraints. So we had started last year. We got a little bit of a late start in full implementation, trying to pivot from Westwood School. We're really getting a good handle on things, but it would be wonderful if every school had a cafeteria in it. So we're getting there. We're figuring out different ways, but it's a good problem to have, I guess. Is that okay? All right. So looking at our maintenance schedule for next year, we're going to have ongoing regular maintenance for all the facilities. The summer project list includes the Artie Parker Community Room. Artie Parker became a community school last year. The nutrition program has updates required at Artie Parker, as well as refreshing and painting various spaces throughout the district. We're looking at continuing asphalting. We're going to be, the biggest project in the asphalting will be completing the Juniper Schoolyard repairs, which isn't a massive amount, but that's probably the biggest one that jumps out at me. The Walkway repairs at Wapanuck site, that's a lot of concrete work that's going to be occurring on the bottom level at the Wapanuck site closer to the gym. That's the biggest there. The remediation work at Juniper will continue, so we're continuing to work on some of the outside walls and do a few more classrooms there to get that asbestos remediated from there. Some of the other asphalting will be here at the board office for the shops and the fleet parking. We've got a lot of frost heaving that's interfering with the drainage, and the gravel's washing away, and there's just deterioration more rapidly when that occurs, so there will be some asphalting here at the board office. Looking at our overall expenses, again, the blue, it's very clear that's our regular instruction of $28 million, which is 50%, just almost 51% of our budget. Student support services is $12,711,000. That's again one of their second biggest expenditure. Student services specific funding that we receive from the province is $3.6 million, and we're putting $12 million into student services. So our district is directing funds to support the students and the exceptional needs as best we can.
Is that EA?
It's our EAs, it's the guidance counselors, it's the clinicians, the assessments, our resource teachers. That's all what's included in student services. Instructional and pupil support services, so that's our curriculum side. We have our nutrition program in there, as well as, I lost my train of thought, professional development. It's $3.1 million. The divisional administration is $2.3 million. The main driver of the increase that we'll see on the next slide in there is our insurance premiums. Transportation is a brand new budget line of $1,114,000. We've had that in the past before because we have been transporting our students using the handy van and taxis, our field trips. It's grown another $650,000, $700,000 with the addition of Mr. Morris. Operations and maintenance are at $6.9 million, and then the final payroll tax fiscal, that's a little bit of interest debt or what have you, $904,000. Bringing our total expenditures next year to $55,192,693. So comparing our budget from this year to next year, our salaries are increasing $2.6 million. Most of our salaries are due to contractual increases, but we have added 5 more additional educational assistant positions next year. We did see in the bottom corner, you can see our staffing for teachers at 248. In last year's plan, there was 250, so it appears to be a reduction of 2 teaching positions. In last year's plan, the new part of the nutrition program, I had added 2 nutrition positions under the teaching line item. As we've rolled out the program, they've all fallen into the support payroll, so we haven't lost 2 teaching positions. Those were planned and are now in the support role. Employee benefits are down slightly from $5.1 million down to $5 million. The main driver of that is harmonization with the provincial collective agreement. In 25-26, we had our harmonization line items identified in there with new information coming this past year. There will be Mystery Lake School Division is not receiving any harmonization funding, but Mystery Lake also does not have any harmonization costs at this time. Under the provincial teachers agreement, there's 10 classifications of teaching for identifying years. We have that already. Some school divisions only have 9 years on their grid, so they're having to add another line, which is really driving their harmonization costs. At the end of the day, the provincial agreement is coming to Mystery Lakes level. So what we need to do now is find some more new carrots to bring everybody up, but that's why we don't have harmonization. Our services, 4.6 million, up $200,000 from 4.4 this current year. Unfortunately, that's pretty much all insurance increase. Our insurance has gone up 51%, or $280,000 next year. Yeah, it's sad. Supplies, material, and equipment have gone down $190,000, 2.8 million to 2.9 from 2.9. That's mainly driven by the maintenance summer project list that has been reduced. Summer projects next year will be $310,000, and they're usually running about $500,000 or so. That's as we've transitioned into the services and transportation salaries benefit line. Transfers of payroll tax is going up $58,000. That's a direct metric of our salaries, where we pay our percentage of payroll tax based on salaries. So our overall budget is going up $2,606,000 next year, or 4.96%. So with the provincial tax increase of 2.5% and our city tax increase, the city tax increase is going from January to December. Our school year is from July to June. So there's a little bit of last 2026 and 5 in it, and a little bit of 2026. So the math doesn't math, but it will work out as I pull a little bit from last year's increase.
Has the salary line reflected an anticipated salary increase?
I do have salary increases identified. The steelworkers agreements have all been ratified, and we have an agreement until April 30th, 2029. So all of those have been built in. I have an assumption built in for salaries. What happens with accounting, we have to match the expenditures in the period which it's incurred. So at the end of this year, we have our February increases in there, but next year we'll have to book an increase for the school year that it matched. So that is all already built in there. Cannot share that rate with you, but it is in there. So what we have here, the 248 teachers, the 107 educational assistants, 44 custodial, and 70.5 support staff. Of note is the educational assistants. Right now we're running, our plan was at 99 last year, and we're running at 105 right now on our payroll. So I have added positions in, added 5 more positions into next year. So there's 105 educational assistants in the student services area, and we have 2 IP EAs that we refer to that assist in the vocational programming area, which is in Function 100. So when people are talking EAs, we're usually thinking the student services component portion, so that's where the 105 is. Any other questions? Yep. Undesignated surplus. We continue with our surplus as an emergency source of funding because unplanned events happen, and sometimes we'll get a funding adjustment coming in January that says, okay, we're going to recalculate and you've been reduced 800,000, and that's in year, and we've got all of our contracts signed. So our estimated June 30th undesignated surplus is $1.8 million, or 3.41%. We are allowed 4% by the province, which is equivalent to 2.2 million. So we've got a bit of wiggle room if we end up with extra at the end. I suspect what we're looking at as we're moving forward to the Westwood School build, we have requested from the province to be able to set up a $5 million reserve to address any building components that are not covered by insurance so that we can make sure every classroom has a window. Insurance is allowing a like for like. Any additions or improvements will be on the school district. We also have to account for future purchases of our busing units, so we have set up a bus reserve for that. So if we have unplanned dollars left at the end, we'll probably be directing into those two reserves. We generally are pretty close on our budgets. We do find, you can find with 105 EAs in our plan, we don't start September 4th with all 105 EAs, so if there's some later onboarding or a few teaching positions stay empty, then that'll generate a lot of our surplus at the end. Salaries are our biggest component, so if we're solid on our FTE, then it's going to be a good budget year. So far this year, we're good too. So as you can see, I've presented moderate funding expectations at the local level. That was one of the many factors that we used into developing our school year's financial plan. We continue to remain committed to the residents and community stakeholders of Thompson and bringing forward stable, predictable taxation requests. La réussite pour tous, Kaskioin Kakina Ochi, success for all. Thanks. Are there any questions? Thank you very much for spending some time with me this evening, and hope to see you again. Thank you.